Hi, and welcome to everything I don't want to do is that. Well, it's called ad-libbing, so it'll be...
It should be called Make Stuff Up, because I'm about to make...
You're making up? Make up your whole career. We can talk about it. Right. So when you were working on Reservoir Dogs, what was it like?
I was Mr. Beige.
Mr. Beige? Mr. Beige. So this is the beginning of our show.
Nice.
Here we are. So I have to start with the most important thing. What's your name? And this gets, with you, it gets tricky.
Well, you can call me James Lesure.
Okay. Now, but I don't call you that.
You call me Jazz.
I do.
Which is an affectionate nickname that...
That's how I met you.
Created in college. Yeah, it was a nickname that was given to me by the great Hugh Adair.
Really?
And it stuck. Hugh gave me the nickname. He said something like, James, you, I don't know, something about you like jazz. You like jazz.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, call me Jazz. And so you call me Jazz. And
I call you Jazz.
A lot of folks from college call me Jazz, and
but
I love it.
At one point, I was also calling you James Junebug Johnson III.
Well, I grew up, my grandma would call me Junebug growing up, and so that was a nickname
Okay.
that I like. And I was born James Johnson.
Okay, gotcha.
After my father. And if you ever see him, tell him I say hello, because it's been years. I don't know if we want to get into that right now.
I don't know if you're doing a bit right there or not. That's what I love. Because I've known you for years, and we were just joking about how interviewing you, I'm like, I'm going to learn stuff.
I know.
And I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, I'm named after my father, so James Jr.
So you've been Junebug and you've been Jazz, but professionally you're James Lesure.
Lesure comes from my mother's side, my grandfather on my mother's side.
Okay.
May he rest in peace, Henry Lesure. Took his name once I joined the union, Screen Actors Guild.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've even changed it legally.
Oh, you did?
Right, yes.
Okay. What was that process?
The government worked with them, and they worked with me. So now it's James Lesure officially.
It's very Michael Keaton of you.
What do you mean?
Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas.
Is it?
Yeah. He actually, when he won the Oscar last year, he talked about that. And
oh, really?
I believe he took the name Keaton from being a fan of Diane Keaton or something like that.
Oh, funny.
That might not be true.
And there's a...
I don't know. Well, this is where the fact checking is going to come in. There's going to be some words that'll be like, David made that up. So we'll see.
We can say anything.
We can say anything because we're going to make Bryce Beckham.
Ticker afterwards.
Yeah,
okay,
fact
great.
check it all. So it's good.
Well, no. I mean, I was born Denzel Lebowski.
Denzel Lebowski? Good.
So yeah, James Lesure is my official name.
SAG, you said SAG.
Yeah, but I changed it because I'm born James Johnson.
Right.
To my father. But when I went to join the union, there was a James Johnson already there.
So
it's a common name.
what was the job that you joined the union on?
It was a sports commercial for Reebok.
Okay.
I was doing that at USC, side hustle to earn some money.
So during school you were
pursuing commercials.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
commercials.
I had my first auditions my first real auditions when I was there. But
at USC.
Yeah.
Nice.
They had the call board, and you would check every once in a while. Yeah, I got my first professional gig that way, and then there was a couple people that came in and scouted you while you were there. So you did.
Wow.
So you did commercials for a while, because you're not doing commercials now. You don't go out for commercials these days.
No, well, they just keep hitting me up about the male, erectile dysfunction commercial. I'm like, I don't know what they've heard. But outside of that, nobody's really looking for me.
Because people are doing that way more.
I would, yeah, if somebody was asking me to, and depending on what it was, the product or not, but I'm definitely open to it. There's some funny commercials out there.
Yeah. What was the Reebok one like? What'd you have to do?
That was cool. I don't know if you remember, it was back in the day when Sinbad was a spokesman for them for a while. He had this whole little campaign. And so we were just running around playing ball. And the funny story about that, man, because I used to, I worked at the Lion Center, on campus, and I worked in the gym picking up weights, but in between shifts, we'd go upstairs and play basketball. And I met a guy playing basketball there. We just, after a few weeks of playing ball together, we were getting along, and he told me, like, yeah, you know what, you should really try to look into doing sports commercials, because you seem relatively athletic. Yeah. And so he introduced me to a guy that was representing him for commercials. And I met with him, and the guy said, yeah, I'll take you out. I'll submit you on some things. And he did, and I got lucky enough to get this commercial that got me into SAG.
Nice.
So just by playing ball with a guy at the Lion Center,
and that was was that your first intro to representation?
No. And funny enough, working at the Lion Center has been really good to me because that's how I got my first manager who I'm with today. Another young lady who was working at the Lion Center was doing an internship in his office, and she recommended him to me. And so I went into his office, with a headshot, and at that time I had a couple of monologues that I knew too, and so he wanted to see me do something, and so I did a couple of monologues for him in his office, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll work with you," and that's how I started working with that manager.
And you're
I'm still with him today, Vince Cioni. What up, man? What up, Vince?
Hi, Vince.
Yeah.
I met with Vince once, years ago. You recommended me for Vince at one point.
Yeah. You're a good recommendation. I recommend you for anybody.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's back up a little bit because you were a BFA, right? Bachelor of Fine Arts at...
Is that what that? Yes, BFA, yeah.
Where did you're from LA?
I am born and raised.
In Gardena, right?
Yeah, Gardena and Carson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, influence-wise, growing up, was there somebody you wanted to be? Was it like, who were your acting idols or your?
Well, I remember loving Michael Keaton. Funny enough, you said growing up, Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder. I remember those kids, making big impressions on me as I was growing up. Yeah.
So, how did that transition to USC? Like, how did you first learn about, I should go there?
After high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, so I went to a military school for a year. I went to went to Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy Preparatory School.
Right.
And so I got into that, and I hated it immediately. But and I wanted to stop like that. Halfway through the first year, but my parents wanted me to stay in the school. They wanted me to continue on with the military, and it was really killing me.
Wasn't you?
Yeah.
Wasn't you?
So I did finish out the year though there, and then I said, well, if I'm gonna leave this, I gotta do something with my life. What I want to do, and it turned out I was like, I just want to be an actor. I want to entertain people. And so that's when I started pursuing acting after I left the military. And then I went to a junior college for a year here at El Camino Junior College.
Okay.
And I took my first drama classes there just to see what it was.
So in high school, you didn't do any performance? It wasn't your thing yet?
No, I did do a play in junior high. Because we took a drama class. It was a drama class you can take for an easy A. So I did do a play in junior high. It was Chief Note Got Dough and Castaway on Polynesia. I don't know if they've done I don't know if it's an off-Broadway thing.
I don't even know if you're making that up.
This is real.
You could be making that up.
This is real. So it was in ninth grade. It was the only time I had done a play.
Okay.
And then in high school, nothing.
And did that stick with you when you were coming back to it? Were you like, I had a great time in that play, or was it not so much?
Nah, I just thought I was just sitting back, thinking about what I wanted to do in my life, and the answer kept coming up was like, I know I wanted to entertain people. I felt like, I could make believe, play and make believing and be believable, and I wanted to avoid a 9-to-5
and be creative.
Yeah.
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 So you hadn't done really a monologue ever before until you auditioned for the school.
I guess I learned some monologues at the junior college at El Camino, and I kept those with me. I forget what they were though. I know for Vince, I went in with a poem that I liked. I did a poem for him, and did it like a monologue.
Right.
And then I must have done some other piece. Back in the day, they used to have these books a book of monologues. I don't know if they still have them.
Yeah.
So I picked a monologue out from that, but I forget what it was. I think one was supposed to be like a little emotional, and one was of a lighter vibe, I think.
Right, comedy and drama.
Yeah.
Hit both sides of the masks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to talk about like pivotal moments throughout your 4 years. You did a semester at sea too, if I remember correctly.
Overseas.
When I got there, because you were a year above me, and when I got there, you were not there. I want to say.
Right, because I was so full of confidence, man, and so misguided. I went to USC. I was like, listen.
By the way, you're still incredibly full of confidence.
And misguided. Both.
And misguided, both. Yeah,
because I went in there and I was like, listen,
Right.
I'm going to give USC 2 years. I'm going to give Hollywood 2 years. I'm going to go to USC for 2 years. I'm going to get discovered. Then I'm gonna leave this place.
Right.
So I get there, 2 years come, nobody's checking for me at all. So I got pissed off.
Well, when did you do the Reebok ad?
I think when I came back from the overseas thing. I think that's when I did it. So after 2 years, I get pissed off. I said, well, I want to leave. And then I had the opportunity to go and study abroad at England. So I took advantage of that. And I had a great year over there, just taking general studies. But I was able to do 2 plays while I was over there as well. I did an Athol Fugard play, The Island, and we did a production of Hair while over there. And so I had a great time, and I came back, I was a little more chill.
Yeah.
And
Were
then,
you singing in Hair? Did you sing?
Yeah. I'm a color spader.
Wait. I've never seen you do a musical. I've never seen you sing. I've seen most of your body of work, I think.
Yeah. I did it over there, man. I mean, they allow me to do it, but I was pretty terrible. But, you know, I was the only African-American male on campus at the time, so who else is going to play HUD? I mean...
So they were like, can we get him a coach for the singing? They're like, listen, we're gonna go with him. We're gonna go with him. Mm-hmm. So what were kind of pivotal moments? I mean, I know your lack of memory, but try to remember college right now.
Okay.
And in those 4 years, like what, a specific teacher or a specific show, was there like a pivotal moment? Like I had a pivotal moment when Josh Carton, you remember Josh and Ray? Did you have them as teachers? I don't remember Ray Burke and Josh Carton, but I remember Josh like talking to me about using my comedy instincts for drama. He was like, it's the same thing. And I remember that was like a light bulb in my head went off. I was like, I can use the same kind of comedic instincts for like David Mamet's The Woods, and I remember that being a big like transitional moment for me as a performer. Yeah. Did you have moments that really where light bulbs went off in your head?
I remember Alan Hendrick was a great teacher. He would just say, acting is acting is acting. Wow. And to me, what that meant was, regardless of the medium, regardless of where you are, it's just, it's basic. It's just, you stay true to what you're doing and just act. And so whatever you're doing, so that, kind of has resonated.
Stripping it all down.
Yeah.
He was mainly Shakespeare for a long time, right? Yeah, did you do Shakespeare or did you do more than that? Because they were...
In class, we were doing Shakespeare.
Right.
He directed us in a play, what was the thing we did with Rick Barbera? Spring Awakening.
Spring Awakening.
Yeah, we had a great experience.
And that's the pre-musical version, not the current. They've turned that into a big musical Broadway
really?
hit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was nobody singing in that.
Yeah. No, I remember you that funeral scene. You guys that was a crazy scene.
I had a good time with it because I was with my chosen brother Rick Barbera, and so we had a blast doing it.
You are very secretive when it comes to
a lot of stuff.
But
a lot of stuff.
You got just skeletons in the closet. So many.
So man, I'm so embarrassed about some of my behavior. It's got to remain secret.
So we can't talk about any of your.
No.
I'm pulling it out.
I'm gonna try to. No.
Well, okay. So here's my story about you, which is going to see the movie Crimson Tide, and you didn't tell anyone that you were in Crimson Tide.
Right.
And I think I physically stood up when I saw you on screen and yelled jazz at the top of my lungs. And I remember going like, what? Why didn't you tell me you're in a huge Tony Scott film? And you were like, I don't really talk about stuff. So you have a thing, like when you audition for something or where you're up for something, you bury it, you keep it in, right?
I do for the most part, yeah.
It's just a thing. Is it superstition or is it?
Nah, it's just, unless somebody asks about it, really, no, I just keep it to myself. That's okay.
Do you remember your line from Crimson Tide? Because I like saying
I do.
it. Your one line.
What the hell are we doing here, Fred?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then you had a scene with the little dog.
The little dog.
The little dog was. But no, I remember you telling me a story too about like you shot that the day you auditioned for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got the call on Tuesday night, and they were like, they're replacing an actor. Can you go down to set and audition at 7:30 in the morning? I was like, yeah, I'll go down. So it was just a little small audition piece, and they had like maybe 10 to 15 actors. We all were in a room on stage somewhere, and we just read the piece, and they asked a couple of us to stay, and so dismissed a few people, and I think they brought in the director then, and we did the piece again, and they said, okay, you can stay. And then at 11:30 that same day, I sit down in the makeup chair, and there's Gene Hackman right next to it. Like, it was so crazy, man. It was such a crazy day, and it was, my first sort of experience with something that huge, and it was just, a big blessing.
Yeah, that was a big, as a student and seeing a colleague on the big screen like that was exciting.
Oh,
that was good stuff. The amount of people that were in that movie is
crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, you think of Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman, but James Gandolfini, Viggo Mortensen,
yes.
Ricky Schroeder,
Rick Schroeder at the time.
Rick Schroeder,
Yeah.
Steve Zahn,
Yes.
Dude from Bronx Tale.
Nucci, Danny Nucci was in it.
Yeah.
The dude from Bronx Tale.
And I believe Quentin Tarantino did
some writing
on it. So
yeah.
he may have written, "What the hell are we doing here, Fred?" That could have been a Quentin line.
No, I feel like when they start talking about
comic books,
I feel like that was probably
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a Tony. That was a huge movie. That was really
it was.
exciting.
It was cool. It was great to work with. May he rest in peace too. It was a great experience.
That was feature work. What was your first? Well, first of all, I want to bring up the fact that according to IMDb, the O.J. Simpson.
I'm 87. Oh yeah.
What's the O.J. Simpson thing? Because we were also shooting an O.J. Simpson parody. I think the same time that you were doing that.
Yeah, it was a real thing. I think it was during college, right? I don't know what time it was.
It said, according to IMDb, it was like 95 or something. That was.
Yeah, that's why I graduated in 95.
Okay.
And so it was like, these made for television movies, and I worked on it. I forget for how long, maybe a day or two.
It said you were AC.
No.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't AC.
Okay.
I had a bit part in it.
Oh, okay.
And
because you were AC in our thing, right?
I forget. I don't know. I probably was.
Yeah, you were.
I did love doing
it. It was
that.
really funny. So when I saw that on IMDb, I was like, wait, you actually were playing AC in a professional thing too?
No, but you're talking about me keeping some stuff to myself. That was one of the times where I let stuff out. I told folks, I'm in the O.J. Simpson. You gotta watch it. It's gonna be on tomorrow night. They watched a terrible movie for 2 hours and they cut my stuff out.
Oh.
And so I was like, I'm never gonna tell anybody anything again because who knows what's gonna be in there.
Yeah.
So I put my loved ones through that, and I won't do that again.
You won't make them.
I won't.
There's so much OJ stuff now, though. Like OJ is.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
He's
employed a lot of people. He's gotten a lot of people work.
Okay, so you were just auditioning. You were hustling right when you got out of school. Vince was getting you. Did you have an agent as well at that point?
Yeah, Vince. I was working with Pam Ellis.
Okay.
She was the first agent I worked with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you think was Vince more your champion or the agency? Like,
yeah, Vince.
This is kind of a conversation.
I signed with Vince first, and so he was shopping me around to different agents, and Pam, I think, was the third agent I met with, and she was willing to work with me. I remember because I had very little tape at the time too, so I auditioned for her. She wanted to see what I could do, so I go into her office and she gave me a couple of scenes to read. One was comedic and one was dramatic, and she gave me 20 minutes to go and work on them. So I worked on them, come back, and I did it. And then she was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll work with you," and we worked together for a few years, and I'm grateful we did.
So what was the because you get into television. You've done a lot of television.
Yeah.
So
more than anything.
The transition into television, was there like a big break because you did a lot of co-stars and guest stars.
I'm still waiting for that big break. What are you saying?
What?
I'm very blessed. But
you've been very stable. You've been
very blessed.
But I do talk to you sometimes and you're like, I don't know it's some of your best acting when you tell me that you're scared you're not going to work again.
Because I know the reality is I have way more days where there's no work than days that there have been work. And I am extremely blessed, you know what I mean? But I know the reality of it, and so. That's
an interesting thing just about the profession that we have, which is it is very peaks and valleys, and you also do something that you think is going to be a peak, the O.J. Simpson,
I thought that would be the lunch.
Yeah, that would be the lunch, but just the idea that you were cut out, and like the idea, because I've had a couple of moments where you're like, oh, this is the part where I did something enough that like the system will will carry me.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the representation will carry me.
Yeah.
Or I'll start becoming an incoming call. And every time I think that, there's also the part of in the back of my head going, don't think that. That's, people, I think Brad Pitt is kind of like, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of goes through that in a way that I think is maybe not talked about as much. But you do have gaps in between jobs, and you panic about it.
Yeah, I do. Well, you remind me that one of my first jobs was a background artist on a Brad Pitt movie. But at the time, it was him and Ricky Schroeder. And Brad Pitt, nobody knew about Brad Pitt. It was called Across the Tracks. And so I was playing a track runner, just, background stuff. And I remember thinking, like, who is this dude trying to hang with Ricky Schroeder? I mean, Rick Schroeder's a man, because, we grew up with Rick Schroeder.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was all that. Who does this dude think he's all this?
Rick Schroeder's been in your... He's kind of keeps popping up.
Yes. We've done a lot of work together.
Yeah. He's your Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
He's always around. So, okay, because you did 3-camera stuff. What was your big...
My first regular gig, like a steady gig, was a show called For Your Love. It was a sitcom that we did for 4 years. It started on NBC. We did it like 6 weeks on NBC. They dropped it, and then a network, the WB, picked it up.
Okay.
And then we were on WB for like 4 years.
And so that was your first long-term job.
Yeah.
And while you were on that, was that your only job that you were doing while you're on it?
Yeah.
So
I might have done stuff like when the show was on hiatus, but I forget what. But I might have done other things.
And what was that like? Just jumping into kind of like a set family and consistency and
yeah, it was a new world. But then again, with Alan's, Alan Hendrick was, resonating. His words, his acting is acting. So just stick to the script, because it was all sort of foreign, being, acting in front of people like that in a sitcom format. So it took some adjusting, but I just started, just to focus on the script first and focus on that work, and then, just try to figure everything out as I was going along.
Right. And then that's where you start meeting a ton of people. I'm sure you had people coming in and different directors, and that kind of webs out where people remember you from this.
Yeah.
I remember watching that show and being frustrated that you were more the straight person. You were not the funny one as much, and I remember.
That's hurtful to hear.
No, you were funny. You were very funny, but you know what I mean. Like you were the anchor.
Yeah.
Much more to the comedy stylings of Holly Robinson Pete. And but I
think you're right.
I think our group of friends, knowing the level of comedy that you are incredibly capable of, which you make all of us laugh constantly. And I remember going, oh, let him go, let him loose. Did you find the theater training getting into 3-camera where you're dealing with a live studio audience? That was full live studio, or did they do pre-tapes and stuff like that?
No, it was in front of a live audience.
Yeah. And how was that?
That was great. That's like, Tyler could tell you he's a rock and roller here. Because he's a musician, and I thought to myself, this must be what it may feel like as a musician, be in front of a live audience, getting that charge.
Yeah.
And so I thought that, that must be what it's like for a rock and roller. So I love that feeling of doing it.
Had you been to a taping before?
No.
So you'd never?
No. Oh yeah, but I had some experience with a sitcom, because one of my earlier jobs was on the show Martin, and that was filmed in front of a live audience, and so I had some experience with how that worked. But I remember Martin was my first sitcom I ever did, and I was so nervous. I had, this was all new to me, and I said my lines like boom, 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 without them even waiting for a response. And Martin was like, "Hey man, slow down. I'm supposed to say something." But I was so excited during rehearsal, so it was all just sort of like a learning process.
Did you do something between? There was Vegas. Vegas came somewhat after For Your Love,
Yeah, Vegas came after For Your Love.
And that ran for how many?
5 seasons, 5 years.
Yeah. And that was a fun.
Yeah, that was a dope gig, and was super fortunate to be a part of that.
Also NBC, right?
Yeah, and that stayed on NBC for 5 years.
Yeah. James Caan was like the centerpiece of that show, right? Or was it more?
In his mind, but I felt like no, he was. Yeah, he definitely was.
He didn't know how much.
He was the big reason. Well, I wanted to do it when I got the script sent to me, and then they said, "Oh, James Caan is going to be in it." I was like, "Oh no!" And then they said Nikki Cox was going to be in it, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I got to work on this piece." 'Cause I had a big crush on Nikki Cox, and so I was really happy they hired me to work on that show.
It was always pretty much a hit show right off the bat, right? Was it?
It was it was popular, but I think it got more popular in syndication for. I think because it got more far-reaching. I know because TNT was showing it every day.
Right.
For a couple of years, so it became more popular like that. I want to apologize to a lot of people that watched it because I feel like we were pushing the envelope of what was believable in that show. We were, I don't know.
Well, you had a
lot of corny moments.
You had the one show where there was like the flashback to the 60s or something like that.
No, I love that show.
That stuff and you shot that at the racetrack in Santa Anita, where I'm from. Yeah, and I remember
that show I loved. That was probably the great Gardner Stern, but.
You got to drive a pretty sweet ride in that, didn't you? Didn't you have a cool car in that or something?
Or
is it just
Josh's character?
Josh's character. You in real life have a cool car. What's your car?
I do. I like to. I drive the '61 Lincoln Continental.
That's a nice ride.
I was thinking because I know when you and Rick and I were riding that one afternoon, just having a blast, playing some fishbone.
Yeah, yes, we were. Everyday sunshine.
Every day.
Okay, so after Vegas,
it was straight back to unemployment. Just so you know, this is what I'm saying. These jobs end, and I can always count on unemployment to be there, man.
That's the only stability you have is not working.
Always rely on that.
Right.
So it was back to hustling for other work.
But not too long. I mean, you had the Matthew Perry show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
was a blast, man. Working on that. Speaking, going back to Vegas. What I love most is working with the cast because we all got along and we enjoyed each other. We made each other laugh and. It was fun doing it, even though some of the stuff we, had to play was, like I said, push the envelope of what was believable and this and that. But we still had a blast doing it.
Right. I think your audience probably forgives you.
I hope so.
They're fans.
Yeah. People still responded to it, and at the end of the day, I'm cool with it. People like it. I'm cool with it. I
mean, I guess you were being recognized for your love.
Yeah.
But Vegas probably much more so.
Yeah.
What was that transition like? Were people coming up to you on the street now and or fan mail and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I like it because it's mostly like positive feedback and stuff like that. So that makes me feel good. So I'm cool with that. A couple of people would give their opinion and come down on me hard. And I'm like, Mom, take it easy. It's just, so.
Just a show, Mom.
You
don't have to watch.
You don't have to.
She's still watching the O.J. Simpson, looking for you. She's like, that's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted, and
still waiting for you, son. You told me to watch it.
Keep watching.
You told me to watch it.
Just a real worn-out VHS. How do you feel about? Because I think it's funny. Like you said, you had a really pivotal experience of telling people, your friends and family, to watch something. Like, do you? You obviously want people to watch your shows, but there is there's a masses that needs to watch it more than forcing your friends to watch. I think that's an interesting conversation because I sometimes do the same thing. Like, people tell me that they go out of their way to watch certain things or check out something. I'm always like, oh, not that one or whatever.
Right.
But what is your relationship with kind of self-promotion?
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Definitely, yeah. If I work on something, I like to think that I'm proud of what I'm doing, and so I want people to be entertained by it. So I'll spread the word like that. I'll drop a Twitter bomb or something to tell somebody, check out a show, and hopefully we can entertain you.
But you're very private that way when it comes to social media, and you're on Twitter, but you don't do Instagram, you don't do.
No.
And you're on Twitter. Are you actively
just to
doing?
Promote stuff. I like it for that.
Right.
To promote things. Outside of that, I'm good with staying off it.
Right. Do you feel pressure from representation, or do you have a publicist these days, or do you work with
I've worked with a publicist before.
Yeah. Is it kind
right now, no.
But is it like, a new show's going to launch, let's put somebody on for?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've done talk shows and done that kind of promotion stuff.
Yeah.
Do you get pressure to do your own promotion, like your own social media stuff, or is it? Yeah.
My representation would like me. I should say the representation I work with would like me to do a lot more of it. I am reluctant to do it.
Yeah, I support you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because I think certain people's talents. Some people who are like stand-ups and Steve Martin can tweet and all day,
Yeah, and great at it. And be entertaining.
And be entertaining,
Yeah.
and that's kind of his, like, I'm Steve Martin, I'm known as being Steve Martin, and my opinion or my joke is this.
Yeah.
And I just think, you don't need to be that type of performer to do
Right,
that. And
right.
it is frustrating, I think, that the industry wants to have a blanket thing of like,
Yeah.
well, if you're a performer, you need to be self-promoting.
Yeah, that's
and,
the trend now, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that kind of slingshots.
And I'll do it sometimes. Like I was fortunate to work on a show in 2016, Uncle Buck on ABC, and during the airings, we would be live tweeting as a cast.
Yeah, see, I think the live tweeting thing is good because it's getting people involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I literally was trying to live tweet a show with like the cast of Complications,
Yeah.
and you know what I didn't do? I didn't watch the show.
That's my issue with it too.
I was like, what are
I'm
you
taking
doing?
people away from the show. Yeah.
They also had a whole thing a few years ago. I remember after, like, you'd watch The Office, and like between The Office and 30 Rock, I think those were back to back, it would be like, if you want more Office, go to the NBC.com and watch blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Right.
in the history of television, have they ever been like, hey, turn your eyes away.
Right.
Let's not watch the next show.
Yeah, no.
And
That is the problem with the live tweeting. I agree with that.
Yeah.
It can be a distractant.
Okay, so you did Uncle Buck, and now you're on.
I'm fortunate to be working on a show called Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce. It's been on for 3 seasons now.
Right.
So I joined the cast in a recurring role in the 3rd season. So I've been working on that.
Nice. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm happy about it.
You pop up in features here and there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
But I've done very little feature stuff.
Ideally, do you want to stay in television? Is it 3 camera? Is it
No.
single camera? Is it features? I mean,
I know so little about features, so I wonder, like, if my attention span can handle the time it takes, because I've heard features take longer to do, so I wonder if I can sit still, but I mean, obviously, I love movies and they're respected and it can entertain people, so I'm open to doing that stuff,
Does your management or your representation, like say Uncle Buck, did you have to audition for it, or was it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I tested for Uncle Buck
Okay.
twice. I had to test because I tested, and then there was something had gone on with the camera or something they were saying after the day was done, and they asked me to come back like a week later and test again. And initially, I told the manager I work with, I was like, no, I tested already. They should know by now. If they had a problem with their end, that's on them, But he talked me into going in again, and I'm glad I did, because I ended up working on it and enjoying the experience.
Yeah. How is auditioning for you? Do you the process of auditioning? Do you like it?
I hate it.
I hate it too.
I hate it.
Do you find yourself in warm rooms more than cold rooms? Like, do you find yourself walking into room? Listen, let me just say this. Every time you walk in a room, it always gets a little warmer. That's what
thanks,
my mom always says that. My mom, you light up a party. You light up a party.
That works for me, man.
But
Loves your mom.
but I always think about that. Like, I've never gone into an audition with you, but I'm assuming that when you take over the room when you audition, or do you find yourself kind of like what's this? And
it can definitely be a mixed bag. Like some folks, I went in an audition one time. This casting director, a well-known one as well. I'm reading with her assistant, but I was really excited to meet this casting director. She's in the room, her assistant's right there, and I start doing my piece, and she starts to nurse her child as I'm doing the piece.
Wait, the assistant, the casting director?
The casting director that I was so excited to meet.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening? Should I cut, or do I just keep going? And I just kept
That's
going.
distracting.
She was like almost complete. I mean, I get it. She's birthing a child,
we're supportive of feeding babies.
Yes.
We're not. We're not anti-breastfeeding.
No, nobody's saying that. But there's a
no.
time and place for everything. But so she had no really regard for what I was doing.
Right. Do you think that's because they watch the tape more and they just pay attention to the tape more? Or
I wonder.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've had literally auditions where you're this far away and you're reading with somebody, and just because it's a small office, and I've just always laughed about. I mean, there's so many auditioning stories that, and like sometimes like horrifically backlit where like the blinds and the sun is coming in and you're like you really can't see who you're working with.
Right.
That's the auditioning is not my favorite.
Yeah,
it's a different skill. I mean, I find it to be a completely different skill that doesn't translate fully to the job you're being hired for. you know.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is a different
you
thing.
have to learn it. You have to keep on top
Yeah.
of it. But if you're in a warm room where they want you to be funny,
Yeah.
like it's much easier
Yeah.
to be funny because they're expecting it and but a cold room when you're trying to be funny and
Yeah, it can be
and
painful.
You're working off a reader who's bored or whatever. That's hard.
I remember one of my earlier auditioning experiences as well. I was testing for a pilot, and it had gotten down to I was testing my first test, and I had no experience with it. And they go, okay, you come into the room, and they were literally, it was a smallish room, but there were 20 people in this room. Network. I don't know who else was in there, producers, this and that. And I had no idea it was going to be like that. And so I go in, and I try to, be warm and open. And I was at first. And then, I start doing the piece. And I just remember I was super nervous doing it, even while I'm saying the words. And I could literally feel my chest just. Oh,
you got to
sorry
say
for
it
that.
again for audio.
I was
but that's
literally
good.
feeling my chest. Sorry about that, Tyler. Going boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. And I was just like, yo, just get through this, just get through this, just get through this. So this auditioning thing, can be a nerve-wracking thing for me.
I don't know if this is theater training or just performing in front of live audiences and stuff, but I get way more nervous in a like one-on-one audition or a room like that where there's 10 people and it's all the lights are on, as opposed to walking out into where the theater aspect. I mean, maybe a little bit that happens before, but there's something when you open the door onto a stage and there's an audience there where it just it takes over.
Right.
I've never done a 3-camera in front of an audience that way, but I've always assumed that I would love to work on something where that carryover happens, where you kind of step outside yourself and the audience carries you.
Yeah.
But something in auditioning,
because it's such a foreign scene.
Yeah.
So you're in an office, this and that. You might see people that who are going out for the same job. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. No, and I always joke the bull bar method, my acting coach character, and I always joke about like intimidating people or distracting people, and there are people who do that, I'm sure. I went to an audition recently, and it was supposed to be a very warm room. I'd worked for this, it was the guys that did Burn Notice. They're now doing APB.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, these guys, they love me. They want me to succeed.
Yeah. and
I ran into a friend, and he just spent like 15 minutes chatting and like, how are you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then after he had like completely distracted me, he was like, I'm gonna go work on my stuff.
Oh.
Good talking to you. And I love him, and he's great. And he'll probably, if he watches this, he won't watch this. But I remember just feeling very rattled. And then I came in and you do the read, and it's like she's reading right off the camera. So I'm like, this looks like I'm looking down the camera. And as the director in me wants to be like, can you go there or there so it works better? And it's amazing how much
stuff goes
can go through your brain and how quickly and how to I mean, that's some of the training is like trying to figure out how to calm yourself and stay focused, like Alan said.
Acting is acting is acting.
Right. That's a hashtag now, but we don't really. We'll have to do that. This is going to be on somewhere. I don't know where this is exactly. So thank you for watching. Did I embarrass you enough?
No, we're good.
Was there anything else I should talk about? Anything I shouldn't put in there?
No, I think everything can fly, man. It can play. Let it play.
I'm trying to think of like, we didn't talk about how when we met. Like how you screwed with me.
No.
Can we talk about how you screwed with me?
No,
the last thing?
No, man. Let's
Come
have
on.
something just for us. Can we just have something?
That's for
just
us?
For us? Yeah,
but I was so
on.
generous. I was so generous with the. Okay, fine. We won't talk about that. Thanks, Jazz. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Love you, man.
That was we faked that. We shot this before the interview.
So whatever you guys do, don't drink that water.
Shit. Continuity. Let's start over from the top. It's just from the beginning. From the beginning. Let's go again. So, I Barbara Walters you. I did it. We got emotional. We got emotional.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, cut.